What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a big shout out to the brother LB of the sports and political channel of LB for doing a video on this subject already. All right, my fellow weather enthusiasts did a great presentation telling you what to do, how to prepare for this storm. All right. If you're in Florida right now, Governor Ron DeSantis, the shithead, has issued a state of emergency for the state of Florida. This storm is projected to become a major hurricane. Now, whether that means category 3, 4, or 5, that's to be seen. But it's better to be safe than sorry. Right now, Hurricane Ian is a Category 1 storm as of 8 a.m. with maximum sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. It is projected to be a threat to the western side of Cuba, the western side of the island of Cuba, but ultimately, virtually all the models show it now striking somewhere on the Florida coast, all right, on the eastern side of the Florida. Look, you don't have that much time. You don't have that much time. Today is Monday. I think the storm is expected to start affecting Florida sometime on Wednesday. So right now, you need to be preparing. Buying batteries, candles, non-perishable food items, preparing for the possibility of long-term power outages. If you don't have flood insurance, like LB said, you're shit out of luck because you're not going to get it now. And if you live in Florida, you should have fucking flood insurance. Flooding is going to be a major problem, more than likely, with this storm. I'm thinking about the weather issues. Well, see, this is the thing. Oh boy, it's a lot I want to talk about in this video. There's other things going on that could affect how this storm behaves in Florida, or how it affects Florida. Maybe it's a better way of saying it. There is a cold front coming through. It's going to come through around Tuesday or Wednesday, right? Now, if this storm comes in, say, a little bit more to the north, right? Let's say it makes landfall near the Panhandle, further up north, then it may be more affected by this cold front, which is going to be pulling in colder air, which is really unusual for most storms. You know, you don't really think about cold fronts and all of that shit, but we got to remember we're in the very late stages of September and October. We're in the fall. We're not in the summer. So while it is still warm, there are some other factors involved here. If this cold front, which is going to bring temperatures, say in VA right here, in the 70s, low 70s, upper 40s, if some of this colder air gets wrapped up into the circulation of Hurricane Ian, it's going to weaken the storm as it approaches Florida. It's going to weaken the storm. So it may, if that were to happen, say, right, then maybe Ian strikes as a hurricane category 2. I mean, it's still a pretty big storm, but not a monster killer storm, all right? But still will be a significant storm. And then there's also a chance that if the cold front slows down, say it slows down, Ian may be kicked a little bit further to the east, and say as it goes up the coast, we may be affected more by the eastern side of the storm here in Virginia as it decays, as it goes up the coast, and that'll be better for us because we wouldn't be on the western side, which is where you see the supercells and the tornadoes, the right front quadrant of the storm. We would be more on the eastern side where you see the heavy rains, but I'd rather deal with that than the other shit. However, if Ian comes in, say, a little bit further south and strikes Tampa, St. Petersburg, then it's not going to interact with that cold front or the colder temperatures, the colder air getting wrapped up, at least at that time. And then if that happened, it's more likely that Ian will be a Category 4, possibly even approaching Category 5 strength. Possibly. And if Hurricane Ian is a major hurricane, even if it's a high-end 3, like Katrina was, and it struck Tampa, St. Petersburg, and this is an if. I'm not saying this is going to happen. But if it struck Tampa, St. Petersburg's Jesus. If it struck Tampa, St. Petersburg directly, it would be a complete disaster. Perhaps on the level of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. You're talking about that Bay Area being completely inundated by floodwater. Completely inundated by flooding. The storm surge would be catastrophic. And if that were to occur, up and down the eastern coast of Florida, you would have 65, 70 mile per hour winds for a 24 to 36 hour period. Just pushing, because of the circulation, storm surge water from the Gulf of Mexico, from the Bay, into Florida, along with the rains. It would be perhaps even worse than New Orleans, because it'd be on a larger scale area. Now, I'm not saying that to scare anybody, but what I'm trying to do is to get you guys to understand the potential risk involved. That's why the director for the National Hurricane Center has been talking so much about this storm. That's why Jim Cantore is already there. I think I just saw it. He's in Florida, Clearwater Beach. He's in Clearwater Beach, Florida already. They know what time it is. Now, hopefully it doesn't get as bad, but the potential is there for this to be the worst hurricane to hit Tampa in 150 years. Even worse than the 1921 hurricane. Another thing that comes to my mind is, what's up with these ice storms? You notice that? Like, all these ice storms are always so fucking bad, man. Hurricane Isabel, right? It was a Cat 5, but it weakened to a Cat 1 when it struck North Carolina, Virginia, where I live at. I still remember that storm. We had power outages for 2-3 weeks. Now, luckily where I lived at the time, we lived near a hospital, so the power came back on like 12 hours later. Then you had Hurricane Irene pretty much make a similar track in 2011. Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Ivan. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up with all these ice storms being so damn destructive? But anyway, the main threats that you would see, if that occurred, that track, catastrophic flooding, possibly. But if it doesn't strike Tampa, we would still see a lot of flooding. It's just the way Tampa is made. That area is just very conducive to flooding. So a direct hit would I don't even want to say that word. It would be destructive. But still, the main issues will be flooding, especially on the eastern side of Florida. Obviously, wind damage, storm surge, power outages are going to be in the millions, and also isolated tornadoes. All right. Now, whether or not there's going to be a lot of tornadoes depends upon how Irma strikes, you know. But anyway, that's pretty much it, man, for right now. The main focus is on Florida. Now, of course, as it goes up the coast, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, possibly Virginia, as the storm decays, there's probably going to end up being a tornado threat. All right? And that's the thing I loathe about these dying tropical systems is the tornado threat. It's not the rains. The winds begin to diminish, so it's not that. It's the tornado threat. I remember Florence, the remnants of Florence, when it came through, I think it was September the 18th of 2018, you know, we had, I think, 5 confirmed tornadoes within the Richmond area, which is like weird because we're not like Kansas and shit. So that's one thing I'm always concerned about. But anyway, just keep an eye on the weather, man. And if I haven't said this already, you don't have that much time. I may have already said this, but you don't have that much time. Prepare for the storm. Right now, non-perishable items, candles, batteries, radios, coolers. I think I've already said this about insurance. If you don't have flood insurance and home insurance, I don't know why you live in Florida anyway. I think he said this. One of the things you're going to have is power lines probably being down. That's going to be a problem. You know, but listen to the experts. All right, I'm not an expert per se, but I've been observing these things and listening to these people, so I have a advanced, I guess, knowledge of this stuff. But listen to the experts, the meteorologists, your local meteorologists. They're the ones who you should be listening to, even more so. Listen to these people, and when they tell you evacuate, get the fuck out of there. Don't be one of these dagnabbit. I've been here since 1937, and I've been through the Hurricane Boobity and Hurricane Boofabity. I don't give a fuck what storm you went through. Get the fuck out of there. Don't be like Harry Truman. Not the president. Not the president. There was this guy named Harry Truman, and he had this lodge he owned. It was near Mount St. Helens back in 1980. And old Harry, ain't nobody gonna get me out of me property. And I ain't a going to nowheres. And they kept asking him, please leave. I ain't a going nowheres. Well, the last thing Harry saw before that intense heat hit his ass and liquefied his ass on contact was that lava coming down after you heard that rumbling. And hot lava engulfed his lodge, liquefying it and him. So, I'm just saying, listen to the experts on this one. Get the fuck out.